Hi, friend. Hope you had a wonderful, wonderful week. Today, I want to share with you about two people who were at different parts of society, but both of them were in a desperate situation where everything they did and could possibly do did not work, and they were desperate. So, the first one I want to talk about is a lady. So, this lady, she was bleeding. She was bleeding for a long, long time. Long, long time, many years. And because she was bleeding, there was a law that she was not supposed to connect with people or even be around like the synagogue or anything like that because she was considered unclean. So she lived away from people. She couldn't really be with people because if she would touch anyone, they would become unclean too. So she was an outcast in society. And that for a long time. Imagine what that does to you over time. It probably makes you depressed over time. It makes you lonely and isolated. It's really hard. So in all of this, she tried everything she could to be healed. She went to doctors. She went to natural healers. She went to everything possible. But nothing worked. The only thing that worked was that she spent literally all her money and everything she had without results. So she stayed in that isolated, lonely, desperate position as an outcast. Now, the second person was a man who was a ruler over the synagogue. So he had a great job. Like people respected him, people looked up to him. He was prepping for the services that were held at the synagogue. He was making sure the synagogue stayed nice. He was in charge of a lot of things. So people looked up to him as a leader, as somebody really important. So he was all the way on the other side of society. He was kind of like a little bit upper class. So in his position, he had many contacts, he had many connections and lots of stuff and resources. So one day when his daughter gets sick, he pulls on those resources probably. He probably figures out like there's doctors, there's helpers, like that can make it better. And so he uses his resources and his connections. But nothing works. His daughter's just getting worse and worse and worse. And he's desperate. You know, to the parents out there, if you're a parent and your child is suffering or super sick with that, you're doing everything in your power to help that child, right? Because you love them so much. You don't want anything to happen to them. You try anything you can. But nothing worked in Cyrus's case. He was desperate. Now, both of them heard about Jesus. Probably in very different ways. I imagine the lady probably was somewhere standing back away from the people and just overheard about this man like who is a great teacher, but also is like this healer that healed all kinds of people from all kind of crazy diseases. And she's getting excited and be like, hey, that's it. I need to go to him. I need to go to him. He can heal me. And then Jairus, the synagogue leader, he probably heard about Jesus too. He heard probably about Jesus through like the rabbis and the different leaders. And to them, he was a bit of a controversial figure. They didn't know what to do with him. They didn't know if all the things were true that were said about him. And they were kind of like not really clear. So they probably stayed away from him. Not to be associated with him. They might have talked to him, but not building any association or any faith in him. And that's what probably Jairus heard about Jesus. He probably heard about the miracles. He heard about all those other things. But it was all controversial, and it's probably, who knows if it was even true. But he's desperate. I even imagine, like in this time, it probably wasn't the greatest move, not politically wise, but I mean, for his job and what he was doing, to connect with a controversial figure. But he was desperate. All those things came into the background. They were not as important anymore. Status, what others think of you, all those things. It didn't matter. If this Jesus could heal his daughter, he would do anything. And so both of them were so desperate for healing. And so Jairus comes to Jesus. So Jesus goes to his town. He comes to Jesus and be like, Jesus, please come to my house and heal my daughter. Imagine how much emotion was in there. Imagine the sadness Jairus felt. But also this glimpse of hope. Because there's Jesus. And if the things are true that are said about him, he can actually do something about the sickness of his daughter. He can actually help her to get out of it. And so Jesus goes with him. He walks with Jairus. And while he walks with Jairus, there was a huge crowd around him. Many people were following Jesus. Many, many people. And so all those people were squeezing in. And so Jesus was probably pressed from both sides and be like, oh. It's kind of like in a concert. Have you ever been to a rock concert or any concert and you stand shoulder to shoulder, you can't move forward or backwards, you can't even fall over. And you're just like stuck where you are. And you just keep moving with the crowd. That's probably a little bit how it felt for Jesus. The people were so close to him. But the lady, she sees that. She sees Jesus. And she is excited. She sees him and be like, that's him. But how do I get to him? And I don't know exactly how she did it, because I'm sure she didn't want the other people to be unclean for the rest of the day, because that would happen if she touches them. So I'm sure either way the people made way for her because they saw her coming. They're like, oh. or she got through in some way. We don't know. But she makes her way through to Jesus. And I believe probably in this moment she's thinking like, I'm not good enough. I'm an outcast. That's probably what she started believing about herself after all those years of isolation and nobody being with her in contact or being connected with her. So she's thinking, even if I touch his clothing, even if I just touch his clothing, that would not make him unclean. Because I don't touch him, I just touch the clothing. That little utensils there, it's like a little thing that hangs out of the clothing. If she would just touch that, she would be healed. That's what she believed. And so she probably fell down with all her faith. She touched it. She held it for a moment. And then she felt it. She felt how the blood stopped. She felt how she started to be healed. Imagine this. Years of misery, isolation, hard times, change in one moment. She knew that after she went through the cleansing and got checked out by the priest, she would be able to connect with people again. All she needed to do was go through this ritual cleansing and she would be accepted into society again. She would be able to go to synagogue again. She would be able to connect with people. She would be probably able to have her own family. Everything changed. But Jesus noticed, and so he said, "Hey, who touched me? Who touched me?" Probably looked around and be like, "Hey, who touched me here?" And people around him said, this is what happens if you're in such a big crowd. You get touched. It's like impossible not to be, right? Try not to touch anyone in the middle of a concert. It's impossible. But Jesus was implying something else there. He wasn't talking about like shoulder to shoulder touch. Jesus was talking about who touched him and got healing from that. Who touched him in faith. And so he looked around, and then the lady admitted, "It was me." And then Jesus does something amazing. He said to her, "Daughter." I love how they portray that in The Chosen when they play those 2 episodes. I love how he speaks to her as a daughter. The words she hasn't heard for so many years. Daughter. And she can't even believe it. She's kind of like, "I'm nobody's daughter." He's like, "No, you're my daughter. You're my daughter." He speaks life into her, identity into her in this moment. She's not a no one or an outcast or anything like that. No, she's a daughter, a beloved daughter. And then he says after, "Your trust or your faith has healed you." Her believing, coming to Jesus and having faith, healed her. So she was fully restored and healed. Isn't that amazing? So an outcast becomes part again of society. One that's rejected is now fully accepted, called daughter from the Messiah, God's Son, daughter. Beautiful, beautiful restoration. And the desperation was gone. Now Jairus, he was still not there. He was still worrying about his daughter. But I bet this probably gave him a faith boost. Because he probably knew the lady. He probably seen her around town and see how she was like an outcast, and maybe even came to the temple or to the synagogue to get checked out. Who knows? But he saw there was a miracle just happened. I believe that gave him a little bit of a faith boost. You know? It's just coming out a little bit again and be like, it can't happen. His head maybe a little bit higher lifted in this moment. And then Jesus keeps walking with him. They keep moving towards Jairus' house. But then something happens. They weren't there yet, but not far. And then they hear flutes playing. You know what that meant in that time? That meant the mourners arrived. So people would hire mourners that would play mourning songs, mourning and playing the flute. And while he heard that, he probably saw also his employee come running towards him. And in his head, he's kind of connecting the dots a little bit. And be like, uh-oh, that's not good news. When the employee was finally there and tells him, Jairus, don't bug the rabbi anymore. Your daughter died. That's probably when the dots were connected in this moment in his head. And probably he got hit pretty hard. But then in this moment, he also was with Jesus and he looks over. And what does Jesus say to him? He said to him, keep trusting. Don't be afraid. Jesus saw the fear in him. So he speaks to him and says, don't be afraid. Just keep trusting. Everything stands against you in this moment, right? You just got told that your daughter died. You hear the music of the mourners. So everything that's you see in this scene and hear is saying that it's over. The only one that's saying is, hey, no, it's not. Don't be afraid. Keep trusting. Is Jesus. And Jairus chooses to trust. And then they start walking into the house. They tell the flute players, okay guys, you played long enough. The girl's just sleeping, just go. And those guys were laughing because obviously you wouldn't call a mourner and pay them to play music if the person was just asleep. That would make no sense, right? So they ridiculed him a little bit. But he's like, no, go away. Close the door. And Jesus and his three closest disciples, Jairus, the daughter, and Jairus' wife, were there. And then Jesus goes up to the little girl. goes up to her, holds her by the hand, and then speaks to her. Little girl, I say to you, get up. Or in Hebrew, Talita Kumi or Kumi. Now imagine the father looking at the daughter and looking at Jesus and remembering the words he said, don't be afraid, trust. But his wife didn't hear that. She was probably in deep mourning. But then she looks at her husband and she looks at Jesus. And something happens. And then when Jesus holds the hand of the little girl, and she comes back to life. Imagine the joy that was felt in this household that day. It was not about status in society. It was not about any of those things. None of them cared about that anymore in this moment. What they cared about is, our daughter is alive. Jesus just brought her back to life. She lives. Isn't that good news? The mourning that they were in a second ago turns to full joy. Isn't that amazing? That's probably how the disciples felt after Jesus died, this deep mourning, and then after he rose again, this deep joy. It's probably a similar feeling than Jairus and his wife experienced in this moment. So I want to encourage you with this, and I did this before, but I want to encourage you to put your eyes on Jesus. It doesn't matter where you stand. It doesn't matter what position you have or don't have. Turn your eyes towards Jesus. Bring your desperation to Him. Because He's the only one that can really bring true change. And He does it through many ways. It's not always the same. He might use people to get you healed. He might do something else. Who knows? But I want to encourage you. Put your eyes on Jesus. Let Him always be the first you go to, and not the other ones. Because that's the most important thing. So Jesus, thank you. Thank you that, we can trust you, that we can lean into you, and that you are with us in every moment. Help us to run to you first. Not go a lot of places first, but go to you first. In all circumstances in our life. Because you are the one who can bring solutions to everything. No one else is able to do that. Only you can, Jesus. Thank you for that. Thank you. So stir up our hearts. Heal the things that bring us first to other things, and then maybe go to you as a last resort. And help us to turn that around so we go to you as our first resort. and then get the solutions from you what to do. Thank you. And Father, I just want to pray blessings over each one that's watching this. The Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. God bless you. Amen. Goodbye, friend. Have a great week. And don't forget, in your desperation or in any situation, go first to Jesus. Bye.